6 weeks after we became a family of 5, we decided it was a good idea to embark on a camping adventure up the centre of Australia. And what an adventure it was! A 7-week trip in a tent with a newborn, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. We tackled some of Australia's most remote dirt tracks, stayed on active stations, visited mining towns, Uluru and made it all the way to Alice Springs. We drove a total of 6,800 kilometres and lived to tell the tale.
Give me your hands. What are they?
It's dirty.
They are a bit dirty.
Dirty.
In May of 2022, we welcomed Piper to the world. In my crazy pregnant phase, I decided that it was a good idea to build a camper trailer because we didn't have the towing capacity for a full caravan and we needed more storage than what a traditional camper would give us. And to be honest, I was kind of just going a little bit crazy and needed a project to focus on. It was a huge project and we had heaps of people help us out throughout the process. And right when I was about 36 weeks pregnant, we finally finished it. When Piper arrived, Adam and I both enjoyed 6 weeks off of work. And then 3 days before he was due to go back to work, I had a thought. If we were going to do a big camping trip, now was going to be the time. Piper was sleeping really well, and this was as easy as she was ever going to be without needing solids and without walking. So we both called our workplaces and they both said that we could have an extra 7 weeks off. That was the start of an absolutely insane 3 days where we had to put the finishing touches on the trailer, pack everything, buy the last things we needed and loosely plan our itinerary. But 3.5 days after telling our work we wanted leave and 6 weeks after Piper was born, we were on the road. Day 1 was hectic. We were still doing the last of the packing and getting the house all cleaned up so that we could leave, and we didn't hit the road until about midday. It was a huge day of driving and it was raining and dark when we made it to Stawell. The boys had cereal for dinner and then it was straight to bed. The next morning, Ari slept until 10 a.m, which has never happened in his entire life. At first we thought he was just made for camping, but it turned out he was getting sick and had a fever. So we ended up having a super chill day and the kids were in bed by 6 p.m. The sleeping arrangement in the tent was certainly cozy, but it worked. The 2 boys shared their corner, we had the other side, and then Piper was at the boys' feet, leaving just enough room for a couple of containers of our stuff that we needed to get to throughout the night. After the beautiful drive through the Grampians, we stopped in Halls Gap for lunch and then continued the 250 kilometres to Mount Gambier. We set up quickly because the kids were eager to head out for our evening activity, hand feeding possums at a sinkhole. Today we planned on just visiting a local kids farm because we didn't want to jam too much into the day. It was only a small farm, but it was fantastic. The staff were really friendly and the kids were able to interact with a bunch of animals, which they loved. I gave Piper a bottle in the car, and then just as we were leaving the farm, the lady at reception was telling us about a bunch of other great places to visit, and it all sounded so good that we scrapped the idea to head back to camp and instead set off to visit a bakery, a brewery and some caves. The lady at the caves was so lovely. When Logan asked how dark it got in the cave when the lights were off, she told him that we could stay around until everyone left and then she would show us. In the evening, we headed to a nearby seaside town for a play at the playground and dinner at a restaurant.
Are you okay?
Our next stop was a hidden gem of a campsite, and it was one that we had all to ourselves. We spent the next 2 days hanging out at this amazing campsite and just visiting the local town.
Are you sleeping, Ari?
After waking up to a flat car battery and a lovely guy helping us jumpstart, we headed to Victor Harbour. It was a 310-kilometre drive and we stopped at a seaside town for a quick lunch out of the trailer. We then spent 2 very wet days in Victor Harbour, unsuccessfully watching for whales, before heading into Adelaide Airport so that we could fly home for 2 nights to make it to a close friend's wedding.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
On a plane.
Is that good?
I have gone on so much planes and I loved it.
After returning from the wedding, we continue our trip and head straight up the centre, through the Flinders Ranges, stay at an active cattle station and cross the Unadilla track, where the last town before getting on the track was out of fuel at the petrol station, leaving us nail-bitingly short to get to the next stop. And on top of that, we get a flat tyre.